One of the crazy things is in the e-commerce world, there are so many identification numbers. So if you're wondering, what are all these identification numbers? What do they mean? How do they all flow? I want to help create a little bit of clarity around that. So my name is Kevin from Maximizing E-commerce. I help people build international e-commerce channels on Amazon. And I've come to learn just a few things along the way because I've got this question from clients and just in general, I've come to learn just in my own meandering experience as well as an e-commerce seller myself. So what I'm going to focus on here is going to have a lot to do with the Amazon side of the world. So just follow along and I'm going to share with you all these different numbers, what they mean, and what makes sense in certain places and whatnot. So at least you kind of have a better grasp of like, where do they all come from? Because it took me a while to grasp it, to be honest. So if you're watching this and you have any questions, feel free to leave a comment down below. And if you find it helpful, please consider liking this video and subscribing to the channel. So real quick, we'll talk about we'll just go from the top of the hierarchy kind of on down, I think is the way to look at it. So first off, you have the global trade item number, and that's sometimes referred to as GTIN. And it's usually a UPC, Universal Product Code, or EAN, the European article number. And basically what they both mean is like, there's kind of like, let's just use UPC because I'm in the US and in North America, we use UPC. In Europe, they tend to use EAN. Amazon, you could use either or. But basically what it is just a universal product number. So it's an ID that should be the same everywhere. So whether you're selling a product on Amazon, whether you're selling it in Target, whether you're selling it in Lowe's, whether you're selling it at a grocery store, a mom and pop store, whatever, there should be a consistent UPC number for that product. Same thing with EIN, just a different version of basically the same thing. So no matter where it is in the world, it should have the same GTIN number, which let's just assume it's a UPC. Then in Amazon world, Amazon's going to assign what's called an ASIN, an Amazon Standard Identification Number. And so that's something we probably understand because we've probably seen that number before. We probably understand where that's coming from, or at least have a good sense that a product has an ASIN. But after that, it kind of gets a little blurry. So I want to help clarify that. So it doesn't matter where on Amazon a product sells. So if you're selling it in Amazon.com, Amazon.ca, Amazon.co.uk, Amazon.co.jp, basically any Amazon marketplace, the same product theoretically should have the same ASIN and the same GTIN, we'll just say UPC number. So everywhere, this part should be the same in Amazon world. And so certain things are going to carry over using the same ASIN. The same ASIN is going to have the same images everywhere, the same reviews, which has gotten to be a good thing. Then come down here and now it gets a little bit murkier. And so this is where I think a lot of times it gets people tripped up. So then you've got what's called a stock keeping unit number. And so this is more now at the merchant level. So if I had to go back in time, I would probably have come up with a stock keeping unit numbering system when I first got started, but I just kind of let Amazon assign it because if you don't put one, they'll just give you one. And you don't have to use the one they give you. You could have something that makes sense to that type of product. So for example, if it's like Nike black shoes and size 10, maybe it would be Nike B-10 or something that clues you into what that product is. And so for you as the merchant, not necessarily you as a manufacturer, but at least, you might keep the same, and this is up to you how you want to run things, but you might keep a different stock keeping unit number if you're selling it in a different marketplace, if you're selling it someplace else. A lot of times people will have the same stock keeping unit number everywhere. So if you're selling it in your own Shopify store, you're selling it on eBay, you're selling it on Walmart.com, a lot of times sellers will use the same SKU number everywhere. Now, on Amazon, if you decide you want to make it an FBA, a fulfillment by Amazon offer, you're going to have what's called a fulfillment network stock keeping unit. And this is one they will assign to you. And so the FNSKU is going to be the identification number for that particular offer for you. So this is one you don't get to assign. Now, if you use the same SKU number in, let's say, the US and Canada, you would most likely have the same FNSKU number. So the FNSKU number, if you use manufacturer barcodes, if you've ever seen that, manufacturer barcodes, it's most likely just going to be the ASIN. And if you use Amazon barcodes, it's probably going to start with an X, like X0, blah, 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 blah. So that might be one way you know whether or not you're using manufacturer barcodes or if you're using Amazon barcodes. And I think what trips a lot of people up is if you're doing private label your own brand, you don't necessarily think about all this because in your mind, at least it was for me initially, was like, oh, okay, well, shouldn't all this just be the same because I'm the only person selling the product? Well, I'll show an example here in a moment. But if you think of it this way, Amazon is a marketplace that was originally designed to have every product was available, everyone can sell it. Now they've created a lot of restrictions now, you can't just go out and sell any product, but at least know that there are some things that there's some numbers, and knowing how these numbers flow can help you understand how the system works. And what's also could be a little bit trippy for some people, you could theoretically have two SKUs for the same ASIN, you as the same seller. So what you could do is you could create an FBA SKU for a product, then you could create a merchant fulfilled SKU. It would not have an FNSKU because it's not a FBA offer. So if you're off, so each offer would have a separate SKU. And sometimes people will have, I've seen people do this where they'll have like a FBM dash FBM on the end of their SKU. So they use the same SKU numbering system, but then they just add dash FBM or something like that. So that's something you could do. So let's get into an example that I wanted to pull up here real quick. So while I pull this up here, I'm going to show you an example of a product that's for sale on Amazon, this Yeti mug. And so I'm using a brand name product on purpose because there's multiple people selling it. So if I scroll down here, you can see there are 17 offers for this product. So new and used, 17 offers. So, well, actually, before I get into that, I'm going to show you here real quick. So if I scroll down here, you're going to see there's an ASIN. The ASIN is assigned to this particular product, this particular color. And then there's a, not to further complicate things, but you can have a model number, a part number, something like that. And that's more the manufacturer level. So basically it's almost like a UPC, but assigned by the manufacturer. So theoretically, everyone selling it would have the same part ID, the same product ID that they're using here. So then what's going to happen is if I scroll back up here to the top, these are all different color variations. Each variation is also going to have its own ASIN and its own UPC code. So it's unique to that particular variation. And then there's also going to be almost kind of like an invisible bucket that they're all fitting in. And that's called the parent. The parent's going to have an ASIN and a UPC code. And it's something you don't actually see front facing. So then if we come over here and we take a look at the offers here, all these different people are selling this particular product. So for example, this one sold by this particular company and ships from Amazon.com. So that clues me into the fact it is an FBA offer. So this particular seller has a SKU, and their SKU is different from all the other SKUs on here. And then they also have an FNSKU, and their FNSKU is different than the person who sells this one. So it's a different company and ships from Amazon. So that means it's fulfilled by Amazon. So both of these products are shipping from Amazon. So they both have SKUs and they both have FNSKUs. Whereas if I come down to this one is an FBM offer. And the reason I know that is because it's the company that ships it, or sells it, is also the company that ships it. So they're shipping it themselves. So it's a merchant fulfilled offer. So that means, what does that mean? They have a SKU, but they don't have an FNSKU. So hopefully that makes sense there. And each seller, if they have, let's say, maybe they each have 10 different of these colors they sell, every color they have is going to have its own SKU. And if it's an FBA offer, it's going to have its own FNSKU. So hopefully that helps clear up some of the misunderstandings, at least I know I had along the way with selling on Amazon, and what are all these different numbers mean? How do they flow? It took me a while to kind of get it. So hopefully that helps you. I'd love to hear your comments down below. Did that help? Do you have any other questions with that? And I wish you the best in your e-commerce journey. If you've not subscribed to this channel, please consider subscribing, and I wish you the best. Take care.